Oscar BEVIS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. I'm here in Miami with Josh Denzel. How are you, brother?
I'm good. We're in Miami. How can you complain? A lot of stuff's going down. Weather's good. It's a dream. It's a dream.
So I just pulled the mic away from you there. Were you trying to talk?
I was just waffling.
Yeah, man. What a gig. You're here for the boxing and for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's not too bad, is it, life?
Yeah, it's going well. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I've been doing the stuff with Matchroom and JD around the boxing for a while now. And I was doing, like, when I used to work at Sport Bible and Lad Bible, I used to cover all the big fights anyway, whether it was like Matchroom, all the BT, like Frank Warren shows and that. So that's been good. Like, things are moving. We've got the Born Fighter series coming on. Just filmed a few bits like that, a few bits of that before come out here. And then obviously NFL UK, been like a relationship we've had for ages, and it happened to be like there's a big boxing show, and then also Super Bowl like within like Thursday to Sunday. So it's like Miami's popping right now.
Certainly is. I want to talk about the Born Fighter series.
Yeah.
Gone down a bit of a storm, actually. Really good series, sort of getting boxers to open up.
Yeah.
How did it come about you working with Matchroom for that series, and how much have you enjoyed it?
You know what? Like it kicked off because me, Frank, Eddie, my manager Stefan, like we were talking about how we could, because I worked with Matchroom and the boys before Love Island, etc. So it was like, how do we utilize kind of the new following and your skills like an interviewer? And the first one we did, it was like, right, can we test it out? Do a pilot with Derek Chisora, and we went down to David Hayes' gym, and they were like, right, we'll test it out, we'll see what happens. And Chisora's Chisora, innit? Like, Derek's Derek. Like, he was just waffling, talking about everything, talking about finding God, talking about, you know what I mean? He's come up moving from Zimbabwe, like, a wild life. He lived Finchley ABC, like. So then that worked, and I thought, oh, hang on, we got something here. And then this Born Fighter series that you get with boxers, that you obviously got IFL, like, there's a certain amount of platforms that you go on, but boxers are more open to talking truthfully than, like, you say, your footballers or your other athletes. They're like, they just talk openly. They're all a bit, you know what I mean? There's something missing. Every boxer you ever speak to, there's one or two screws loose. They might be super nice, super normal, but you know they're all a bit off their heads in some way. And he's just trying to open them up and kind of put them in a comfortable situation where they want to talk about the real stuff, and like, not just like the reasons why they get into boxing, but like their motivations. A lot of these boxers have got millions of pounds in the bank. Some of them have, you know, some of them are fighting, you know what I mean, like fight camp to camp, like how they pay their trainer. So there's a huge disparity in boxing, but the motivations all seem to be the same, and it's trying to kind of get that across and kind of have them real conversations.
Do you think that might be why boxing's grown so much in the UK, the fact that boxers are so accessible, channels like ourselves and other channels and the series you're doing and Matchroom, boxers are able to open up and talk like they're just in the pub with their mates, whereas footballers, etc., if you're not Sky Sports, if you're not BT, you haven't got that access.
Your boxers are normal people. Like, you catch them in the gym, like you catch them in like the local health food shop or on the street, like, and they're willing to talk to you because, you know, boxing at a base level is that you got to sell tickets to make money. You know what I mean? So it's like you kind of have to know your fan base, and to build a fan base, you've got to be relatable, you've got to be real. People got to like you, so they're way more open to having those conversations. And I think they're not, you know, unless you're at that top level, like you are super accessible. It's like you can have that chat. Like, you walk around Miami and you might bump into 3 world champions casually, 4 or 5 here. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's nice. It's nice. And now obviously with IFL, YouTube, social media, you've got a platform to talk to anyone you want. And like, all you need is one camera. You need a phone. Like, the amount of press conferences you go to, and it's just a geezer on the phone with a mic or a camera and a mic. Like, you can just chat to them, and like, they have real conversations. They're not afraid. They're not politically correct like other sports when they're like, do you know what? I say what's on my mind. The first thing that comes, if I want to call someone out, if I want to call someone an idiot, if I want to call someone a prick, I'll just do it.
I want to talk about 2019. Working in boxing in 2019 was a bit of a dream.
Yeah, it was unreal.
New York for Joshua Ruiz, Saudi Arabia for Joshua Ruiz too, Los Angeles for KSI Logan Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, just what a mad year 2019.
2019 was a sensational year for boxing. And for me personally, you know what I mean, you get to travel around and, like, you know, it's nice to have like those big nights at the O2, of course it is, but like the glamorous ones, you get the ones in the Vegas, the LA, like it's just growing, you know what I mean? Like, it's a worldwide sport. It's not like, all right, cool. There was a time, like a few years ago when England had, Britain had like 10, 11 world champions, and that kind of built the sport up here, but you know, with Wilder in America, you got Devin Haney, you got Andrade, like, you got so many of these fighters from everywhere that are like, you know what I mean, that are becoming big names. So yeah, it was good. It's good to be able to go and travel, and like, boxing was busy. It was busy in 2019. You know what I mean? And like, even like with the two Joshua fights, like specifically, they were huge clashes, and like no one expected what happened in New York, and that just set up another massive fight, and it then made the complications and the questions around whether they'll fight Wilder, Fury, like that draw. It was like, what's going to happen? Like 2019 set a lot of stuff up for 2020, but it was busy, and that's how we like it. You know, we don't want to sit there and think, Jesus Christ, it's taken 5 years, 6 years for Pacquiao to face Mayweather, and that's the one fight that people are waiting for. Like, we want people to be active, and like even at that top level, we want the best to fight the best, and I think that's what's starting to happen. 2019 was the start of that.
2019 was also the start of a new era in boxing when it comes to the YouTube boxing.
I'm getting involved, mate. I don't know, who can I call out? That's the good. This YouTube boxing thing is nice, like, because before it was like I got asked to do like a fair few like white collar fights or those celeb fights. I'm thinking, you know what I mean? I love my boxing, but do I really love? I like talking about it. Do I like getting punched in the mouth? I don't know. But now you see some of the money that these YouTubers are getting. And then how serious they're taking it. That's what's surprising, you know what I mean? Like, who would have thought, like, you go for essentially what is like a glorified white collar fight, you're training in Big Bear for 4 months with Shane Mosley. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, this is mad.
And then they've got their mates running around and saying, if Eddie wants to offer me 7 figures, then I'll fight as well.
That's that might be me. Eddie's over there, man. And Frank's over there. I might have to start shouting. But like, it's the money is crazy. Look at KSI. Like, they fought, you know, top of the bill and a bill that David Haney's on. You're like, that is mad, but then also they're bringing in the numbers. So you can't argue against the eyeballs that they're bringing in, of course. And as long as they respect the code of boxing and they take it seriously, and they don't start saying stupid things in press conferences like, you know, someone's going to die, etc. Like, when you respect the sport, I think you have to understand that you have to give them a path. Like in music, there's a lot of genres. Do you know what I mean? If you like rock music and I like hip hop, I'm not going to go, you don't know music. I'm going to say, you like what you like, I like what I like. You can like both. And that's the same with, I think, boxing. You got the YouTube fight, which is like, it's a slightly separate angle. Then you've got, you know what I mean, your big fights that aren't necessarily world title fights, like your British dust-ups and that. And you've got the world title fights, it's all slightly different. You might like heavyweight boxing, you might not like fucking strawweight boxing. This is just another element there. As long as they take it seriously.
Can you understand, though, why you've got the hardcore fans, the old school guys who are like, look, there's a bill with 3 world champions on, and there's 2 world title fights, one with a unified world champion, that have been relegated to below 2 YouTube guys.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. Saw Farmer kind of was sat there thinking, he was talking, he was saying, like, I don't know what happened, but I don't mind the KSI Logan Paul fight because the fight was built around that. Like the whole bill was built around them two, whereas this fight I don't think it's been built around, you know, Gibbon and Jake Paul. So like I would be in my feelings if I was like, if I grinded from the mud, you know what I mean? I'd won my world titles, I unified the division, and then I've got these 2 guys who are in their first professional fight, fighting above me. But that's the aim of the game. You might be a world title fight, but then, you know, Chisora might be top of the bill. He hasn't got a world title. You know what I mean? Where does it stop? You know what I mean? Just because these guys haven't necessarily dedicated their lives to boxing, it's a tough one. Like, it's hard because you end up looking at it from 2 points of view. Like, you've got how much money are these lot going to bring in terms of, like, I'm going to get cut of that pay-per-view. So if these lot are bringing in 1 million eyeballs, I'm getting rich off these lot. So let them fight after me. Or it's that, you know, I've hustled, you know, my entire life. I've got to this point. I deserve more respect. So it's 50-50. I think Billy Joe Saunders said, listen, like, these lot are bringing 1 million eyeballs to Billy Joe Saunders. Why am I buffed? As long as I do the business and I get my money, more people know who Billy Joe Saunders is. It's happy. So there's two viewpoints.
Let's talk about the big boys. Of course, you spoke about Ruiz and Joshua last year. That's done for now. We think I highly unlikely think that we're going to see Joshua Ruiz 3. Yeah. We are going to see Wilder Fury 2 though. Yeah. That's sort of the next big one that's on everyone's lips. How does that go?
Wilder Fury. I mean, the thing is, when you fight Wilder, you've got to win every second of every round, because if you get touched at any point, it's game over. Like, Wilder doesn't have to win a single round. He just has to touch you with that right hand at any point in the fight, and he can finish it. So, you know, it's a massive task for Fury, and who knows? Like, Fury in the last fight had lost 10 stone or something outrageous, and he's like, you know, it's his first real test after his comeback, and he done so well. But was that like a once in a lifetime performance? You don't know. Like, I think Tyson Fury is probably the best technical boxer in heavyweight division, of course. But I just can't. It's hard to see past. It's hard to see past Wilder. Do you know what I mean? Like what he done to Ortiz, it's frightening. And after losing 7 rounds. So I'd say, listen, like my brain is saying Wilder's going to stop Fury. And especially with the Fury talker saying, I'm really sitting down on my shots, like, I want to knock him out. Like, you're thinking, wow, that's a bad game to play, mate. And obviously split with Ben Davison as well. So it's like, who knows what's going on in that camp? And my heart wants Fury to win, but my brain says Wilder.
One thing we do want to see is the winner face Joshua for all the belts. This is a question that I've asked quite a lot of people. Do you prefer to see Joshua Wilder, the punch-out, or the intrigue between Joshua Fury? From a fight perspective, forget the fact that Fury and Joshua is an all-British clash, just from a fight perspective, what do you prefer to see inside the ring?
With Wilder Joshua, I think that fight is just whoever lands first. I think they can both be vulnerable, and they're both big punchers. Arguably Wilder hits harder, but I think whoever gets caught. I think Joshua's probably would prefer to fight Wilder than Fury, but I think I'd be more interested in seeing the Fury fight, the Fury Joshua fight, just because the build-up would be sensational. Some of the trash talking would be unbelievable. Who knows what would happen? And I think when you got it would captivate the entire boxing world. Like it's like you've got your bogeyman, like Tyson Fury is just who knows what he's gonna do? How good is? Do we really know how good he is? Everyone knows he's good, but it's like, what level is he at? Because he had that one fight against Wilder where he looked sensational, and it's like, can he do it again? Is Joshua a better technical boxer than Wilder? Probably. Could he pick holes in Tyson Fury? I don't know. People say it's hard, but I want to see Joshua versus Fury more than Joshua Wilder.
If we are going to see Joshua versus Fury, Hearn's come out and said, look, you can get 50 million for it in the UK, which ain't a bad purse, let's be honest. But you could get 140 million in Saudi Arabia. The fans obviously disappointed. And Eddie as well said, look, I want it to be in London. I want it to be at Wembley Stadium. Why wouldn't it be best for them to? Yeah. But money-wise, can you understand why? But can you also understand why the fans would be frustrated?
Oh, yeah. I could not completely understand why you'd be fuming if you're a fan, and the end of the fight ended up like the fight of the decade, heavyweight fight, the quarter of the century basically, would have been held in Saudi Arabia, somewhere where very unlikely to go. I mean, let's face it, like you've got no booze. I've been there. It's not that much fun. I can't lie. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, but if I'm saying to you, you can do this interview here or sat over there, but here you get £10, here you get 2 million, you're going over there. Like, and if you're risking your life to do it as well, you cannot argue. And like, in the end of the day, like these guys are there to make money, enough money to retire. Some of these guys only have 2-3 more fights left. So you're thinking, if I want to make my grandkids rich, why not? It's the same ring, but like the fans wise, like you're gonna want to be there. But only 90,000 people. Like, it is a huge amount of people, but only 90,000 people are going to actually be in that stadium. Maximum if it's at Wembley. So it's like, everyone knows me watching on TV. And I'm going to be there anyway. So I'm like, you know what? If it's in Saudi or if it's in Timbuktu, I'm going. So I'm happy. But no, I can understand why those like hardcore boxing fans think like it should be in England. It's all British dust up. Like, but listen, if you're risking your life in that ring, and it is life or death, you want to make the most money. These guys are in it for the love of the sport, but also to retire happy and healthy. So I can understand why they do it in Saudi.
Do you think boxing, the way it's grown in the UK, it's obviously been massive and it's been getting bigger the last 5 years. Do you actually feel like now we're starting to see, especially with the DAZN deal and Eddie having a lot of American fighters, we're actually starting to see the British fighters go abroad, and it's only going to get worse? We're going to see less British fighters on British shores and less big fights on British shores, and perhaps not just moving to America, but moving to Saudi as well.
Do you know what it is? I think if you probably ask the boxers themselves, like if they're climbing up the WBA, WBO, IBO rankings, if they get a title shot, I think they're probably going to take that title shot anyway. But if you then, if Eddie's obviously got like a fair few like American world champions, I don't know, but back in the day, if you had a fight in Vegas, like when Hatton went over to Vegas, you'd be buzzing. You'd be like, yes, mate, this means it's a big fight. That means like, okay, hang on, you're doing something in boxing because you're at Mandalay Bay or you're at the MGM Grand and you're fighting in Vegas. It means you're certified. But now, obviously,
Have we just been spoiled over the last few years in the UK, do you think?
of course we have, like British boxing's been flying last few years. You've had like those iconic nights. You know, you think about like Tony Bellew winning his WBC strap, like, you know, at Goodison Park. Like these kind of nights, they're like intrinsically British. You're like, yes, mate. But back in the day, it was like, listen, if you went over to Vegas, it was a big thing. It was like, yeah, you know, I made it. I'm fighting at the MGM Grand. Like these Wembley fights have not been around. These ain't been around. Like, who would have thought Wembley would be like an iconic boxing venue from now? And that was partly, you know, obviously it's partly due to, you know, fights way back in the day, but also like you used to have fights at Highbury, like fight, you know, Muhammad Ali fought at Highbury. Like you go, and I think now British boxing in the O2 is like a bit of a mecca of boxing now because you've had so many big fights, but that's basically in the last 5, 6, 7 years. Like Vegas is the home of boxing really when you look at it. But I think because we've got so many good British boxers now, they're carrying more weight, and I think Eddie knows that, and I think that they also know that a lot of the money's in England. So I think you'll also see fights. Like we've had Lomachenko come over here, we've had Usyk come over here. Do you know what I mean? We've had all of Joshua's, like a lot of Joshua's title fights here, Cardiff. So I don't think it's going to be like a massive change.
Let's talk about 2020.
Big 2020, yeah.
What fights do you want to see? Let's say, well, I'm going to put it to you this way. What fight do you want to see the most? What all domestic fight do you want to see the most? And then what all foreign fight do you want to see the most? So you've got 3 questions there.
Do you know what? Like, domestic fight, end of 2020, I would love to see Buatsi Akoli, you know? Just because, like a big British dust-up, you know what I mean? And I think that Akoli could win a world title this year. Like, he could win a world title, and I think if he does that, that would be interesting. And I know them both, and I think it would be interesting to see what's going on. I want to see Joshua Fury, although I don't think there's a pipe dream because I think Fury Wilder have signed a third fight. I'm pretty sure there's a third fight in the mix, so that's a tough one. What was the other question? All foreign fight. An all foreign fight. Who do I really want to see have a scrap? Yeah, no. Think about divisions. Do you know what? I don't think Regis McGray and Josh Taylor have another fight, but that would have been the rematch. There would have been nice. Would be nice to see because it was a real tight fight. Have to come back to me on the all foreign dust out. I'm gonna have to have a little think.
I'm saying Devin Haney, Lomachenko.
Devin Haney, Lomachenko. Now, you don't think it's a bit too early for Devin Haney?
I feel like if you've got a world title, then why not? Actually, do you know what? Let's talk about this. Is this a problem in boxing as well? Because a lot of people have said, is it too early? Is this too early? Is that too early? But if you've got a world title, is it too early?
I mean, yeah. Wasn't he like the youngest ever world champion? Is that current?
He was the youngest current world champion, yeah. I think, but I'm not sure if he is now. Okay,
fair. Do you know what? I would love to see that scrap, but I just don't want it to be premature. Do you know what I mean? Because Lomachenko is that guy, and he will still be that guy for another 3-4 years. And I think that if Devin Haney keeps getting tested and goes into deep water, and someone, you know what I mean? I don't want him to prove that he's human, but I want him to be tested. And I think that once he gets through that, I would love to see that fight in maybe a year, 2 years. I think that would be an unbelievable scrap. What about, we got Tank. How good is Tank? Like, how good is Javon? Like,
he punches like a mule, mate. He's serious.
But the thing is, you see him and you're like, he's out of camp and he's like got about 1 million chains on, hanging around with Brona, and he's fat. And you're like, is that how long?
And drunk as well, normally.
Yeah. And you're like, that's going to catch up with you at one point. So, how good is he, and is he wasting his talent? I don't know. He seems to get through. And he missed weight when we was in LA, and he missed weight and he couldn't fight. It was like lost his child. He's not taking. He doesn't seem to be taking it that seriously when he's not in camp. So I want to see how good he is, and a little scrap with him and Lomachenko would be good actually as well, because it's just like pure punching power and skill, of course, versus like the Matrix.
We got Tevin on the bill. What about Tevin Gervonta? If Tevin comes through and calls out Gervonta,
there's some beef there as well, and like. Yeah, I mean, Tevin Farmer is one of them fighters who's super slick, super defensive. Like, he looks great, and I think that he could be able to nullify him maybe. Like, that would be an interesting one. And I think that he's like Tevin's had like a bit of a strange route in boxing in general. And I think that not a lot of people know outside of boxing how good he is. So I think that could be a fight that propels him into stardom.
Right, Josh, I'm going to leave it there, 20 minutes, and I'm going to let you go and have a bit more fun in Miami, because I know you ain't got much free time. I've been working with the boxing and the Super Bowl, but thank you for giving me some of your time, and I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon.
Appreciate it, bro. Nice one.
Gold Star Promotions is proud to present Floyd Money Mayweather. The man himself is coming to the UK for his UK tour, February and March 2020. For all info and tickets, goldstarpromotions.co.uk.